am LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk. April the 25th, 2022, Monday. I want to do this conversation, probably short and brief. I want to call out Sara Haines. Sara Haines, co-host, one of the co-hosts of The View. As we all know, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson has been confirmed to be the first Black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. A court has been in establishment for 233 years. And we are just now getting a woman of color, a Black woman, to be a justice of the United States Supreme Court. I'm calling Sara Haines out because, in my opinion, it's kind of hypocritical. On the day after the confirmation, where we did learn that, again, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson will become Justice Brown Jackson, Sara kind of made the comment, well, I won't say qualified, but all the time that they've had other discussions, she's always said that Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson was overqualified, and just gave the kudos and also giving echo to what the other ladies had been saying about her qualifications are over the top. That Judge Brown is more qualified than many of the current justices that sits on the court now. And so it just kind of showed me who Sara Haines is. I know I have heard things online in regards to her husband, and in my opinion, kind of gave me like maybe somewhat racist, because she gonna say, oh, well, you can now see woman can do this. Like, she's not the first woman, and I was glad Ana Navarro pointed out the first Black woman, the first woman of color. There's a very much distinction in just being a woman. And Sara Haines knew this, but she chose not to say it. So that's why I am LaMarsha Lewis calling out Sara Haines from The View. So we're going to listen to her some what she said. And one time before, I remember when the lady Michelle Tafoya was on The View, when she had one of her first time guest hosting, and Sunny put basically egg on Sarah's face as well as Michelle's, when Sara tried to use the analogy where little girls can be this and little girls can be that, and also Michelle Tafoya echoed and all that, and Sunny said very good dodge to Sara and Michelle, and you could have saw the look on Sarah's face. Like I said, she looked like somebody had just threw egg on her face because she knew she had been called out for her hypocrisy. So we're going to start off with, let me find this. Now, this is on April the 9th, where it's Joy Behar. Sunny's not there because Sunny actually went the next day to the White House when they gave the recognition and celebrated Judge Ketanji Brown. So it was just Sara, Joy, Ana, and they also had a guest co-host, Leanne Ryan. So let's listen to this, to what Sara, just listen. We're going to listen to the clip.
So what did you think of what? You know, Sunny is not here today. Why? She's at the White House celebrating the new chapter of American history that began yesterday. Take a look at this.
It's really cool. The yeas are 53, the nays are 47, and this nomination is confirmed.
So what did you think of watching this yesterday? It's kind of
I get all
gives you
emotional.
chills, right?
I'm just about to cry.
Yeah.
This was just so cool on so many levels. Like, just disclaiming ahead of time, this woman is so almost, I wouldn't say overqualified. This is the highest court in the land, but so qualified for this court. Now take that away. I see a woman, I see a mom, a partner, a daughter, a sister, and I look at her and it's that importance of a representation. I say, oh my gosh, we can we could be Supreme Court justices. I know she's not the first woman ever, but it's still so few and far in between. So to see this, it's like when we heard about the NYPD commissioner. I think that's the right word. NYPD commissioner? Yeah, the first NYPD commissioner. She's a woman. When I see her, I'm not looking to get a new career, but I'm like, wow, I can do that too. And then you see all these big military things. Like we have a... snipers, commanders, you name them, and they'll say it's the first female, it's the first female. Each time it happens, I'm like, now we can do that, and now we can do that. All these people breaking these opportunities open to all of us, and I float a little. I feel hope, I feel inspiration, I feel pride, and I don't know her. I've done nothing for her career, but I'm like, thank you.
Obviously, it's not just the first woman, which is huge in itself. By the way, from Miami, I'm very proud of her, a product of Miami Public Schools. But she's not just the first woman. No, she's the first black woman. Yes.
Thank you, Ana.
That is such a huge accomplishment, and I think when you saw everybody there at the gallery clapping for such a prolonged period of time, you're clapping for Ketanji Brown Jackson, but you're also clapping for the community. You're clapping for their sisters. You're clapping for the family who brought her there. You're clapping for her being able to get through the obstacles and challenges and discrimination with grace, and bigotry with grace. So it's an achievement that's her achievement, but it's America's achievement. It's the black community's achievement. It is Joe Biden delivering on a campaign promise. And we go back to the issue, elections have consequences. But for the elections in Georgia, giving the Senate majority to Democrats, she might not be there. But for Jim Clyburn telling Joe Biden, okay, I will endorse you, but I want you to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court. He said he would, and he did it. And I want to say one last thing. Thank you to Mitt Romney for showing respect, for showing decency, and for showing manners.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Leon, you want to say something about it?
I think it's a beautiful moment in such a sad time in this, in this world, and it does, it gave me so much hope in my heart. And I love that her guidance counselor told her when she said she wanted to go to Harvard, and she told her to not dream too big. I mean, come on, look at her, look at her now. It's just amazing,
It reminds me of when Obama won, and you could see the pride and the joy on little children's faces, black children, who finally say, hey, I could do that, finally.
Such a role model for little girls.
There's a moment I want to talk about. So, this just touched me so much yesterday. Kamala Harris, so that's another big moment, right? It was the first black woman vice president presiding over the vote of the first black woman to be appointed to the Supreme Court justice. And she brought stationery from the VP's office, and she gave it to Cory Booker, and she gave it to Reverend Warnock, the two African-American senators, and she said, write a letter to a little girl. And here's Reverend Warnock's, Senator Warnock's. Dear Chloe, today we confirm Ketanji Brown Jackson to the United States Supreme Court. In our nation's history, she is the first Supreme Court justice who looks like you, with hair like yours. While we were voting on the floor of the Senate, a friend of mine, the Vice President of the United States, handed me this piece of paper and suggested I write a note to someone who comes to mind. By the way, she is the first Vice President who also looks like you. So I write this note to you to say you can be anything, achieve anything you set your head and heart to do. Love you, Dad.
So I just want to say again, kudos to Ana for doing what Sara Haines was not brave enough to do, not woman enough to do, because she know this was not about a woman being elected. We already had 3 women that sits there. The Amy Coney Barrett, Sonia Tamar that was nominated by President Obama, then the other lady. And then it's been some women to retire and all that. So it's not about a woman, but she could not bring herself to acknowledge the historic moment of this being about a black woman in 233 years is now being able to sit on the United States Supreme Court. That is very hypocritical of you, Sara Haines. So I'm going to go back and we're going to listen to this again with Sara saying, then I'm going to play where she said Judge Brown was more than qualified. So let's go to the beginning. Here we go.
You know, Sunny is not here today. Why? She's at the White House celebrating the new chapter of American history that began yesterday. Take a look at this.
I want to listen to Sarah's point. I don't really want to hear. We're gonna go.
So, what did you think of watching this yesterday? It's kind of funny.
I get all
Gives you
emotional.
chills, right?
I'm just about to cry.
Yeah.
This was just so cool on so many levels. Like, just disclaiming ahead of time, this woman is so almost, I wouldn't say overqualified. This is the highest court in the land, but so qualified for this court. Now take that away. I see a woman, I see a mom, a partner, a daughter.
She's gonna say, I wouldn't say she's overqualified. I say she's qualified because this is the high. She's doing what Lindsey Graham and the white people, those racist white senators that gave her such a hard time, grilling her in the manner, and also Marsha Blackburn, the white Tennessee senator, that asked the stupid question, what is a woman? Sara Haines did what these white racist senators did not want to acknowledge her in her credentials, but you're going to try and take away and say, oh, a woman can do this. Woman, white woman privilege, please. So now let's go to this. I'm going to let y'all hear.
Look at her.
And then she'll say, that was my takeaway, opportunities for all of us. How you going to really say opportunities for all, when, like we have said, black people have to really prove themselves. You have to do double, you have to do triple, and you still get the grueling of not being enough, not being qualified when you are overqualified. And like I say, Amy Coney Barrett has never argued a criminal case. We get this white privileged woman sits on the court, and you got Sara Haines, another white privileged woman that sits at a table where she don't have the best credentials either, and most of the time making silly jokes, and in my opinion, and I think others as well, not really bringing nothing to the table. But yet still, this white privileged woman, Sara Haines, sits at the table, and you really have the audacity to try and say, oh, we can be anything. Black people don't get that opportunity. We have to really fight our way. Just like Leanne Rice mentioned, and Judge Brown mentioned how when her counselor told her, when she said she wanted to go to Harvard, don't dream so high. Why? Because she was black. So, and we know Sara Haines' parents supported Trump. Again, I heard allegedly from online that her husband is racist, Max. And in my opinion, Sara Haines in this instance showed her true colors. So I'm gonna go back to another clip that we're gonna listen to. That Sara Haines said, calling out these hypocritical white people. Okay.
Beginning of what could be a rather crazy week.
I'm going to get to her part. I just want to get to her part.
Well, Kavanaugh had a pretty significant process, I think, given the accusations that were alleged, right? And so he had a very rigorous and robust process. Amy Coney Barrett, that justice, didn't have as rigorous a process because we know that the Democratic Party had an issue with the timeliness of it. And so her, I think, process wasn't as rigorous, but I'm just surprised. I'm not surprised to hear this, right? I think, Republicans were sort of hedging their bets, and they knew that they had voted for her. She had sailed through this process 3 times before, and so there wasn't anything new on her record, and so I think they were just waiting to start poisoning the well and muddying the water, and this was to be expected. Yeah. Well, look, it's interesting to me that the two justices that Mitch McConnell points out that he hopes she will be treated differently from are Kavanaugh and Clarence Thomas, who happen to be two who were accused of sexual harassment and sexual assault. Yeah. So yes, I hope she gets treated differently than people who've been credibly accused of that. I hope she gets treated like Gorsuch did, like Barrett did, where you can have a very vigorous and vigorous process scrutinizing her judicial philosophy, her character, her experience, her qualifications, her record. This is a lifetime appointment with very little accountability once you get in.
That's true.
But it has to be done with respect, and people need to remember the historical aspect of this. This court was founded in 1789, 234 years ago, and this is the first time we'll be seeing a black woman sitting there, and that is, as Joe Biden would say, a BFD, a big freaking deal. And the last thing I want to say is the National Review, which is not exactly a liberal rag sheet, it is a conservative media outlet, had an op-ed today saying Senator Hawley's disingenuous attacks against Judge Jackson's record on child pornography. He has voted for other judges, Trump appointees in the past, who, much like her, did follow the sentencing guidelines probably on the lower end when it came to some of these cases. So, funny, he didn't have an issue when they were Trump.
I do want to weigh in on that part in terms of the sentencing guidelines, because what Josh Hawley is now saying is that she sort of, was easy on child sex offenders and child traffickers, and that's just not true.
And no one noticed.
And no one noticed before. And it's just not true. I mean, I practiced under the federal sentencing guidelines, and I practiced in the area of sex crimes and child trafficking. And the sentencing guidelines at this point are advisory. They're just guidelines. Before, back in the day when I first started practicing, it was definitely like, if those were the guidelines, it took the discretion away from the judges, and you just had to do it.
Yeah.
Now it's different. They are advisory only. And so if someone recommends in certain cases that it's not the full guidelines, but it's maybe a little less, that is normal.
And
it
it's
happens
common.
2 out of 3 cases.
It's common among, there's some debates right now as to how we fix these laws, because you've got like an 18-year-old kid maybe in a consensual relationship with a 17-year-old. Yeah, that becomes a sex offender. So they're reasonable. It sounds great in a title by Hawley, but I say consider the source, mainly because every QAnon conspiracy known to man begins with pedophilia. Like, it's always a pedophile involved on some level. So right when I saw that, I was like, wow, he's not even trying to veer from the textbook of accusation here. But that is a common discussion among judges, that, and you can confirm that a lot of them are saying the way it's done is off. But it's not surprising to me they're going after criminal justice reform kind of issues.
Yeah.
The left went after, Amy Coney Barrett's a concern about whether her religious beliefs would play into her legal jurisdiction. And it makes sense that the right will come for criminal justice reform. I think that's the only thing they can do, because this woman is so...
She's unassailable.
She's unassailable, and I think it will be rigorous, as it should. These are lifetime appointments.
Yeah.
But she is more qualified than so many people. She served longer time. Anna, you just posted something today.
Judge Jackson has 8.9 years of prior judicial experience.
Yes.
That's more than current justices Thomas, Roberts, Kagan, and Barrett combined.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I want to point something out, because they're going after her about Guantanamo. She didn't seek out representing Guantanamo prisoners. She was assigned all 4 cases as a federal public defender from 2005 to 2007, while her brother was deployed as an Army infantryman in Iraq. I also wonder, because, Mitch McConnell says her supporters look at her resume and deduce a special empathy for criminals. I know you don't mean this, but that sounds like code.
Yeah. She comes from a law enforcement family.
But it doesn't matter. Listen, she represented a lot of people.
And that's the gig when you're a federal public defender.
That's what you're supposed to do.
I think what you're just hitting on is so important.
It's code, and it's code to tell you
Exactly.
she may be sympathetic to black people. I'm sorry. I'm not going to assume that that's true, because of course that's not the case with Clarence Thomas. Nobody's thinking that he's, all about black people because he's black. No one is saying that about any of the other justices. So I think it's just kind of disingenuous BS to continue to play with this. Ask her anything you need to ask her. She knows what she's doing. She's been doing it a long time. And I will trust that she has made some smart decisions that she made sometimes say, wow, I wonder if that was the right one. Because that's what reasonable people do. They don't think they know everything. They try to make sure they do everything they can do within the legal system.
There's only one area I think that she is prone to questioning that is appropriate is she sits on the Harvard Advisory Board when it comes to affirmative action and guidelines. And that case is going to come up in the fall, right? And she's going to be on the bench. Does she recuse herself?
Only
Clarence Thomas hasn't recused himself.
Yeah.
And I just a quick legal note is that the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and Justice Clarence Thomas have both denied every allegation of sexual misconduct.
So, again, we heard Sara say she was unassailable, she was overqualified, and she even mentioned when Ana had shared something on Twitter, a post in regards to all the other, in which Ana named how Judge Brown has more credentials and qualifications than those that are currently sitting, the justices currently sitting on the bench. As it was pointed out by another blogger in regards to what we listened to on April the 9th when Sara made the statement that I wouldn't say she's overqualified. This is the highest court in the land. Keep in mind, Sunny was not there. Whoopi was not there. The two women co-hosts, her fellow colleagues, were not there that day. So in my opinion, this is my opinion, I believe at that point is why Sara felt, okay, I'm going to talk how I really feel. She's not overqualified. Couldn't even let it come out her mouth that she was a black woman, knowing why this was such a such a big, momentous moment in history, in our American history, because this is a black woman. You got women on the bench. You got Amy Coney Barrett's a white woman. There's been other white women justices. You got Sonia Tamara, she's on there from, Hispanic, and all of that. So to act like, this, and knowing it's such a hard fight for black people, whether it's man or woman. And for Sara Haines to not have the gumption, not have the respect, most of all, to call it for what it was, this moment in history, in our American history, is because this is the first time, as Ana pointed out, and this United States Supreme Court founded in 1789, so it's been 233 years, and we have not had a black woman on the freaking court. It's only been two black African American males. There were Goodwill Marshall and Clarence Thomas, who replaced there with Goodwill Marshall. And now, after 233 years, Sara Haines, you did not have the respect, but you had the audacity to come out here and say she's not overly qualified, or that women can do this, when you know doggone well, just because most of it, because that's why Amy's sitting on the bench. Amy Coney, a white woman, and the conservative wanted her because of her conservative values and background, her religious and all of that. For their conservative views is why they tried to pack the court as much as possible with as many conservative judges under Trump's administration. So, woe unto you, Sara Haines. You showed me. I already had my opinion, but on this day, when the two black women were away from the table, you I won't say you let your guard down. You just became yourself. You became who you are, the white woman, the privileged white woman. And makes me question, did you too vote for Donald J. Trump? You told us your parents did. You really showed yourself, Sara Haines. You showed yourself, and I may be the one and only, but I will not forget this. I'm LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk.